Hi BUS610 students, how are you today? Hope your week is going well. Welcome to week 4. Here's a quick overview of what we're studying this week. Week 4 is all about scheduling and inventory, actually inventory then scheduling. Chapters 5 and 6 in your text. Some general concepts to know from chapter 5. And by the way, I'm on vacation here in New York, so if you hear family members in the background, they're out having fun while I'm doing this. Anyways, we're up here in upstate New York visiting my oldest son and his family. So if you hear some noise in the background, that's what's going on. Anyways, back to week 4's overview. Listen, check out chapter 5 on inventory. Specifically pay attention to figure 5.1. I copied and excerpted it right here so we can kind of just talk about it for a moment. I know this is a really simple diagram of what we're talking about with suppliers and manufacturing and the market and customer demand and that sort of thing. But it does show a pretty good background for what we want to talk about related to inventory. There can be a lot of uncertainty between, and that's what a lot of chapters is about, is how to protecting against uncertainty and instability in the market or in the inventory supply chain. Labor strikes. Labor strikes can hurt you. Snowstorms, fires, earthquakes. In the Midwest, we have tornadoes, snowstorms, and that sort of thing. All those sorts of things can interrupt the supply of inventory coming from your suppliers and from you as a manufacturer or service organization onto the market. And remember, this isn't just for manufacturing, this is for service too. Most service organizations still need some sort of supplies to keep their business going, whether it be as simple as office supplies or doctor's kits, whatever kind of medical supplies you may need to keep your operation going if you're a medical company. If you're a grocery store, obviously you're not producing, but you're servicing. So supplies and material coming into your grocery store. Fast food needs both product coming in and then assembly and the service and that sort of thing. So this really applies to everybody when we talk about inventory. Also, people getting sick. How do you handle that? What's the impact on your labor on your inventory there? So stability in some places and the unstableness elsewhere in the supply chain. Sometimes people sending us material is going to be very reliable, and sometimes not. Now we're going to dig more into supply chain later on. I think it's in week 6 if I remember correctly. So more to come on that, but this is the kind of the inventory component, which is a major component of supply chain and supply chain discussions. So also the other thing that impacts us is the market going up and down. Sometimes the customer demand goes up, and sometimes it comes back down. What's that do to your inventory demand and that sort of thing? The next slide I want to talk about is real briefly. It's supplier manufacturing market figure 5.1, but overlaid with some inventory triangles. So everywhere I have a triangle on there is basically a pile of inventory. When we think lean manufacturing, we want to reduce the size of these piles throughout the supply chain between the consumer and all the way back to the raw suppliers. But the reality is we do need inventory up and down the whole supply chain to make sure we never run out. So the other thing I want to point out to you here is, let's just pretend for a moment, crazy I know, just pretend you're a manufacturer of canned beans, okay? And you're supplying to a supermarket someplace. So your suppliers might include the tin can makers, the bean makers, or whatever the case would be. So let's just talk about one of them, the tin can makers. Maybe they have a raw supply of tin on the input side of their supply chain that they keep, because sometimes tin can not be available. But they have to have some inventory available. On the outside or the outgoing portion of their plant or of their function, they have formed cans all ready to go. If you're the manufacturer of beans in a can, all right, you're going to have a fair amount of work in process someplace through your plant where, you've got beans made, you've got tin cans rather. Sometimes the tin cans are filled up, sometimes they're labeled, sometimes they're not. All in various processes of being manufactured and assembled. And then on the outside or the outgoing portion of your plant, you've got stacks and stacks and boxes of beans ready to go to the supermarket. To what the right level is, I don't know, but it will depend on a lot of these risks and that sort of thing. At the supermarket, and keep in mind there's actually little triangles here. This is like the material that's on the way to the plants and that sort of thing. In the supermarket itself, you got tin cans on the shelf. That's the inventory that they hold. They have tin can boxes in the back where they're holding some inventory. The bottom line is, if there's a great run on beans, you don't want to run out. You don't want your supply chain to run out either. The other side of it is, if people stop buying beans all of a sudden, you don't want to have a lot of beans floating around. All right. So I think you get the idea of how important inventory is to handle the ebb and flow of customer demand, as well as handling all the other problems that can come with managing inventory. Let's talk for a moment about forecasting, just real quickly. Know the importance of forecasting when it comes to understanding the demand from the customer and the impact on inventory. It's really a science, okay? And in this course, I want you to know the strategies. You're not going to be experts. Some of you may know this better than others, but you're not going to be experts by the end of this course. The idea is so that you can speak the language of inventory. Where there are people in most plants and organizations that study materials and materials management, let them do the math. Let them be the people behind the models, but you need to understand the model. Know what factors control inventory. Let's talk briefly about Chapter 6, which is scheduling. Now, the discussion in Chapter 6 is all about optimizing schedule, and they do this around a number of factors, people and processes, sequences of running jobs through machines and that sort of thing. And there's a little bit of it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube is how I sort of see it. There's a lot of things going on as you got to twist and turn, and it's an iterative process, much like a Rubik's Cube is. It's repeating the same thing over and over and over again. It's an algorithm, all right? And that's what Johnson's rule is as well. If you've read Chapter 6 yet, you'll know there's a thing called Johnson's rule. Briefly, Johnson's rule sequences the fastest running jobs before they sequence the slowest running jobs. And the strategy is to interweave the portions of the fast running jobs and portions of the slowest running jobs to reduce what's called make span, or the time through the system. Is to get the maximum number of jobs through your process in the shortest amount of time. So keep in mind, I want you to focus on the strategy of Johnson's rule, which is to interweave operations of the fastest and slowest jobs to reduce the make span. I've also attached a separate example in week 4 that's from another university that gives yet just a different perspective on Johnson's rule for a service industry, so that it may make some more sense for me. It's from another textbook by Reed and Sanders, just to give attribution to them. Okay, I think that's it. I should have all your papers, even though I'm on vacation, I should have all your papers graded by Monday evening. And listen, you're doing great. Hang in there. We are officially, I think, halfway through, right? So we're almost halfway through, but you guys are doing great. Really enjoy reading your papers. Don't be afraid to reach out to me if you have questions and that sort of thing. All right. Have a great day.